takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, they got me.
Hey guys, you notice there's a kind of a new look here. Alex isn't taking over Cobb's spot, but we did tell him to regroup and take a week off. I think it's the first time we've done the show and he was not in the top 2. Pretty sad, the guy had a documentary based on him talking about 3-peats, I guess. Right now, looking at his team, that's not a team that's going to 3-peat. Looking at his team last night, who had 5 guys, and I don't even know what was he have right now? He had like 5 dudes. I think he has like a 30 or something like right now. It's bad. Things aren't going well over there right now. So we told him, hey, you know what? Don't do a show this week. You don't have to. Go work out what you got to do with your team. There's things that need to happen over there. And he's right now, as far as I'm told, that's my last update at about 3:02. He's doing that. He's in the process right now of looking things over, evaluating things, going through spreadsheets. And I hope for his sake, for his mental sake, for the league's sake, I hope he figures it out. Alex, you dethroned the Protect the Throne last week. What do you got to say about all these new developments that you just heard about?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. He was on top for a very long time, and throughout the course of the league, that's just not sustainable in the long run. And so you hate to see the dethrone of the king, back to back, and kind of the fall of Ryan Cobb right now. But he took a sabbatical this week, and he's gearing up for Sunday. And he didn't want any media attention going into this Sunday after what happened last night. And he's hoping he can scrape together a win, although it's looking like not so great odds right now, especially with the amount of players that played on his team. And so we hope the best for him. He's been a mainstay, and obviously he's a host of the show, and we hope to have him back soon. But the best of luck to him going forward. And, we just wish that, he has a smooth recovery.
Yeah, because all signs pointed to him to be on the show today up until last night's game. When he saw his team score that little with the amount of guys he had, it was done. He said he couldn't be on the show today. And we're like, you know what? Take some time for yourself and go figure things out. But, you can't, that's why I don't like my team name. I've never had anything having to do with champion, Protect the Throne, none of that stuff. Because, I will say, as far as longevity goes, my team's been in the top 3 for the last 4 or 5 years, longer than Cobb's back-to-back run. So, and you can't own this whole 3-peat, this whole nonsense of talking about your champion being protecting the throne. It's great and all. You did it. Hodge did it before. You're not the first one to do it. But I hope Cobb figures it out. Not much to get into as far as anything outside of the week-to-week basis. There were a few trades this week. Funny enough, actually, right after Alex calls out Roden last week for not doing enough in his as far as making moves, the guy rolls out 2 or 3 trades in the last week. Alex, you happen to be one of those trades. Kind of walk us through that, the proposals and all the trade talks.
I mean, at least for between me and him, the trade went actually really quick. I had texted him that morning, and I had obviously seen, throughout the past week that he'd been making 2 trades. Unfortunately, he lost again last week. And I believe to Barry, who had a really good game. We'll get to Barry's team later, but Roden fell to 0-4. It's looking like, in order for him to make the playoffs is very unlikely. Digging out of that hole with the amount of, the talent that's in this league is going to be a very hard, obstacle to overcome. And I think he understands that. He knows that. And so I think his mind meant, I don't know if he's completely committed to it, but I think, in his head, he's kind of on rebuild mode already. And so right away, I was kind of looking through his lineup, and it just struck me. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to get a good deal, if I'm going to push for, a bye week, and, I need one more player on my roster, that can kind of solidify my flexes. And so I hit him up and I said, hey, are you interested? I'm interested in CH. And there's one other player I needed. I think it was Lockett, CH and Lockett, who he just acquired from Paul, to complete that stack with Russell Wilson. So I said, hey, I'm interested in these 2 players. Take a look at my team. Let me know if there's anyone you want. I said, I have Javonta, and Waddle, who both have great keeper value. They're both good upside rookies. And right away he said, yeah, I'm very interested in those two. Let me take a look at things and I'll let you know. And he texted me back about 2 minutes later and said, hey, I'll do Javonte and Waddle for CH and Claypool. And it was a no-brainer for me. He threw in Claypool. I would have done it just straight up CH for Javonte and Waddle. He threw in Claypool for free. I'll take it. And he's going to be someone that will help me out through buys. So I'll take it. In terms of on his side, I think it'll help him have tools to, further the development of his team in the future years. I think he can keep these players, he can flip them for more picks in the offseason. So it gives him capital to allow himself to rebuild for next year. And so I think that's important for him.
Yeah. I thought it was a great deal for both of you. I want to lean more so, I guess, because I'm in win now mode. So I see a trade like what you did. That is a win now trade. What Roden did is something that, like you said, you can package those guys, get some trades because this league loves young talent. So people will trade a lot of picks for those kind of guys. Maybe he wants to keep them. Deshaun Watson could end up going to Miami. Funny enough, though, Deshaun Watson goes to Miami. He's got Watson on his team. He's got Waddle. He's got a stack right off the bat, and Waddle's already getting targets up the wazoo right now with his bum quarterback situation. So I could see a stack there. And he even told me, he goes, you don't have a top flight quarterback in this league, you're not going to win much. And that's where he thinks his problem lies right now. Although Burrow has done all right. Another trade that happened, Barry traded, who did he trade? He traded for Damian Williams and Jameson Crowder. Who did he trade again?
Yeah, he gave Hotch, I believe, Devonta Smith.
That's right. So yeah, another young guy. He gave up Devontae Smith to get his handcuff for Montgomery. Then also got Jameson Crowder, who's a target horde. I had both those guys in my roster 2 weeks ago, and I could definitely use those guys in my roster right now. But yeah, good trade for both teams. I think Hodge is obsessed with the keeper, his third keeper for next year. I don't know why he's so fixated on that. He's in the playoff hunt right now. I don't know why he's so fixated on something that's like, you're not going to keep Devontae Smith. You keep Devontae Smith, your team's ass. You're not going to. His team's better than that. So I don't understand that at all. And I think that's it for as far as trades that went on this week, right?
Yeah, just the other trade with Roden that I touched on. He acquired Lockett. I think that was the one that he gave up. Was that the Jonathan Taylor trade? Did we talk about that last week? We might have.
No, because it happened Saturday night.
Okay. Yeah.
So Roden gave up Jonathan Taylor for Antonio Brown and Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
So Hodge is very upset that Roden did that. He was upset that Roden did not consult with him before he did that trade, which is funny. But yeah, AB and Lockett, solid guys. I don't really understand the point of that trade for him, especially because he's like, he doesn't really have a top guy, and Jonathan Taylor is like a kind of a home run hitter. And I did not like that trade because it gives Paul another home run hitter with his all bell cow running backs that he has. However, we'll get into that a little bit. Didn't do anything for him last week going against the stack. But yeah, so those are the trades that have happened. So we're gonna get into the week 4 recap, and we're all gonna start off with DK's dollar bills versus Big Berry sales. I'll go with that one. So Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, we said last week that was going to be a very like back and forth game. It literally ended up being almost identical. You got a 1 point edge on that. Cobb didn't have a good game. And that was a big thing for me. When Cobb didn't have a good game, I wanted to see how your team would respond when Cobb wasn't getting his 27s or 30s. And your team did. I mean, James Robinson with the 20 on that Thursday night was huge. Renfro getting the 16 points on Monday night was enormous. Waddle didn't do much. But Renfro giving you 16, kind of picking up where other guys left off. Robinson picked up where other guys didn't really get for you. And we'll also get into that for this week. That's what you're going to need again this week. Other guys to kind of fill in the gaps where your big boys didn't get points. But yeah, all in all, I think you played great. It was kind of disappointing effort from Ruben only getting a 102. I have high expectations for this team. But again, he didn't start Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't get that. I'm a big Cordarrelle Patterson guy. I don't know why you didn't start him. He would have won this game. He would have won if he started Cordarrelle Patterson over the proper guy. If he started him over Mike Williams, yeah, he would have won. So yeah, it's all management. You can have a good team, but if you can't be a good manager, you're not going to win in this league because you have a lot of good managers in this league. You have to, you have to willing to take risks, and I don't know. It's risky. Cordarrelle Patterson's the guy over there, running back and receiver. But yeah, I think it shows Alex going to 4-0. I think it's one of the scarier teams in the league. Although there's going to be some questions, we'll get into that a little later. Going to be some questions about the quarterback situation going forward. Kirk Cousins has done well. He's a good backup for you. He has done well, but is that the guy you're going to want going into the championship? If you look at the last few years of the teams have won it, you have Murray, you have Ryan Tannehill blew up that year 2 years ago. He got his contract that year. And then the year before was Mahomes winning the championship. So usually big-time quarterbacks are the ones who win this league, not Kirk Cousins types. But love what Zeke's doing, love what Waller's doing, and love what Robinson's doing. All those things can sustain. You're going to be in the top two headed for that bye. We'll get into your team this week later on. But the next matchup, you got the number 2 game. Okay, so you had Bears pickup lines versus O Delta variant.
Yeah, this ended up being the game of the week by far. And we need to look back in historic trends. This has to be a top 5 highest scoring matchup in the league's history. Yeah. This was definitely up there. And you take a look at right before this week. Obviously we saw Paul, and we just touched on it. He traded for Jonathan Taylor, who of course went off for a 23 this week. And you take a look. He's his team right now currently. If this was a redraft league, he has 4 players that potentially would have gone the first round. Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and Derrick Henry are all people that ADPs were taking either in the early first or kind of early second, late first. And so he's got a really scary team that he's putting together right now. And, aside from Odell and, his quarterback situation, which, I know right now he's trying to find another receiver, and maybe he can find another QB that's a little bit more consistent. His team for sure is going to be scary. The only downside for him right now is he is sitting at 1-3, and the main reason that he's sitting at 1-3 right now has to do with the triple stack that he just went up against. When you just take a look at the top 2, I mean, what is that, like 85 combined points between just Mahomes and Tyreek Hill? It's over. When that happens, no matter how good of a team you have, there's nothing you could do to bounce back from that. And then you look at Deebo Samuel, who was, someone that he was unsure about in the draft and, just decided to take, and it's looked like that's been a home run pick right now, putting up 30 points. Even Fournette, who, I don't know what round he got him in, maybe like the 8th, 9th round, putting up 15s for his team. Getting, waiver wire pickups like Kadarius Toney and, putting up over 10 points. I think right now his team is red hot, and it's going to be tough to beat going forward. And, I think that this was, a well-deserving win. It's unfortunate for Paul because I think he would have beaten any other team if he wasn't playing you this week. I definitely think Paul is going to bounce back. I know 1-3 is a big hole to be in. As long as he wins this week, his team is good enough that I have no doubt it's going to make the playoffs. And so, this is, 2 teams that could very well play each other in the semifinals. So that's something to look out for.
I actually had an owner text me this week about this game saying, thank you for beating Paul. I don't want that team making the playoffs. And that's a good team. So I don't want that team in the playoffs. I mean, I love Paul as an owner. He's a great guy. That's a scary team, and I don't want him. I thought I lost last week, but all right, so the next matchup, we got Protect the Throne with a measly 112 victory over 100 to beat the Hodge. I thought Hodge had a legitimate shot in this game. Just guys did not come out to play. Robbie Gould got hurt in the beginning of that game. Didn't even get points from his kicker. He got hurt during the game with a hamstring injury, I believe. But for that, Cobb only got a 1 from his kicker, so it really doesn't matter there. That was kind of a wash. But yeah, that's one thing. If you have a kicker who's I don't understand why he has the Broncos kicker. I don't know where Cobb's like thinking. Why would you go get a team that's not a good offense? I get they're undefeated, but they hadn't played anybody. You're gonna go get a kicker for a team that really doesn't have a good offense. That's your kicker. I don't know. I don't know where Cobb's head's at this year. I think he just thinks he's gone back to back. He has a good enough core. He can just win every game. That's not how it works, man. You need to continue to make moves and do stuff. But yeah, I love what Hodge is doing. Brady had an 11. Sucks that Brady and Brady, Lamb, and Jones got a combined 22. You're not going to win, obviously. Mark Andrews has been proved to be probably one of the worst keeps of the year. And I think that's why he's so fixated on getting a third keeper doing these trades. That was a horrible keep. I don't know what he was doing. But yeah, Cobb's team didn't they score one, they won, but he's lucky that he came away with the win. He should have lost this week. 112 winning is not, that doesn't happen often. So Cobb should be lucky that right now he's third place because he should have lost last week. And I think he knows that. And I think what we saw last night, what the score, what he got last night, it shows that his team is not heading in the right direction. Winning 112 is not where you want to be. You'll take a win, of course, but that's not where you want to trend. I think Hosh should be beating himself up for not winning this past week. I think it's a good team, and I think he'll have a shot. I think he's going to be in the playoffs for sure. But this is one of those weeks that you didn't score a lot, and the guy you played against scored a little bit better than you. But yeah, there's some things there for Cobb with it mixing out for a little bit. He's gonna have some work to do. Dalvin Cook's in and out, is banged up still. There's a lot of question marks with Cobb's team. Luckily, he has Murray to bail him out for now. But yeah, I just think there's a lot of question marks here. And I would say honestly, looking at the teams, I think Hodge's team is going like this, where Cobb's team's just kind of hanging here. And there's really not much. There's really not much Cobb can do. Really, you can't really do much. You have a good team, so what does he do? I don't know what Cobb does. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a really good core, and so I think you have to maybe go out and protect that core. You're going to obviously keep it. You don't want to trade any of those guys away, but maybe think about some of those guys that aren't his core. The Kamara, the Cook, the Mixon, Kyler Murray. Those guys are his core right now, and I think he might need to look out and potentially trade to get maybe one more big piece and something that just can solidify his roster. We see Paul having success with just 4 studs and, getting away with some scraps. And we see your team, of course, you have 3 amazing studs in your team, and it's carrying you to victories every single week. And obviously, we have Mixon who's banged up and might be out for a couple of weeks. Dalvin Cook, the last 2 weeks is, he had played the week before and now, he exited early. And we'll talk about his matchup this week. They're saying that he hasn't practiced this whole week. There's a chance that they might rest him again this upcoming week. And so, if I'm Cobb, I might trade Amari Cooper. I might try to trade Robert Woods after he had such an amazing performance and try to just get one more stud. That's what I would do personally, but we'll see. I was kind of indifferent about this game because as we were talking, us two and these 2 teams right here are kind of the 4 teams that I think have a very good shot to get the bye week. And so I was indifferent because, either one, losing, it doesn't really matter. They both had the same record going into the game. Both these teams I want to lose. And so, I'll take low scoring, just to get, a notch ahead on the points scored. I think Hotch really had a shot going into the Sunday night game with Brady. I think he needed like a 20-25 to win the game with Brady. That's what ended up being a difference maker there. But either way, these are both, still 2 good teams. And so, you got to wonder how both of you guys will bounce back. One, I know Cobb won, but it was kind of a loss for him, with the amount of people that got hurt and, his bad performance. And then Hotch obviously barely cracking 100. We'll see how both these teams can bounce back in week 5.
Yeah, it's going to be a big week for a lot of these teams. But the next matchup is another surprise team that's really like it's snuck out a lot of wins. I wouldn't say they're sexy wins. He beat me 99-114. He beat Stu 112-88. Talk about CP and Stu matchup this past week.
Yeah, I mean, so this was again another low scoring game, and for CP's sake, obviously I think that right now that Paul's team is much better than CP, but you gotta love if you're CP right now sitting at 3-1 with McCaffrey being out. I think the last 2 weeks of McCaffrey's gone out, he's won, and so that's huge for him. And now they're saying McCaffrey's definitely going to play next week. He was questionable for this week. They just downgraded him to doubtful just to keep him healthy. They said that he could have gone if it was a playoff game or an important game, but they're so early in the season, they want to make sure he's healthy. He'll be back next week. And so if he can squeak out one more win, if he can go 4-1 without McCaffrey and with McCaffrey returning to his lineup, it seems going to be pretty scary. But, we talked about, Stu's team, not being one of those teams that really is going to have a shot to make the playoffs just because, there's so many top heavy teams in this league. But, I think it was a pretty close battle overall. There was no one that, really shined, on either team. I would say that with CP's team, it was just more consistent. You go down the line, of Stu's team, you see a bunch of single digits, and you go down the line of CP's team, his quarterback got low 20s, which is, what you want for your floor for a quarterback. Everyone else is kind of in the teens for the most part of this core starting lineup. And so, no one really blew up, but it was just a consistent performance. And that's what you want as an owner. You want consistency. And so, if you're CP here, you have to feel good. If you're Stu, you're getting nightmares of being Tomato King again. That's something you do not want to happen. So we'll see how both those owners handle what they've been dealt.
Yeah, and that's come to my attention actually multiple times. People are already asking about what should the punishment be. Hotch wants Tomato King. He actually wants to bring out the tomatoes before the draft or some point in the summer next year. I'm all about it. I want to throw some tomatoes finally.
I'm with it.
Can we finally utilize the tomatoes? I mean, other than just making fun of somebody with Tomato King. I mean, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's looking it's looking bleak for Stu, man. Again, yeah. Okay, so the next game, we're gonna actually talk about one of the only team that hasn't won yet, which is David Roden's team, chasing Ken, who fell to Barry. Barry had the second highest score last week, so I had the highest. Barry had the second highest, and Paul with the third highest score last week. The Stackers are back. The Stackers are really back, but I don't see Barry scoring this much again, just based on I think Eckler scoring 31. Eckler getting over 100 yards rushing is rare. You look at his stat line, that doesn't happen often. So that's going to be, we're never going to see that again. So we won't see that again. And then David Montgomery's out for the foreseeable future, 4 to 6 weeks, I believe, about a month. I don't think Damian Williams is going to be getting 25s unless I'm just completely wrong about that. I just don't see that. Tyler Boyd, with T. Higgins back now, Tyler Boyd's going to take a back seat again. We're going to go back to what he did in the weeks 1 and 2. So I don't see him getting 16s. If he does, there you go. But yeah, I just think Barry overperformed this week. I think 173 is probably his highest we'll see this season. I think 140 is Barry's high now with the Rodgers and Adams stack. But yeah, and then Roden's team. So what are you gonna do, man? You got a 0 from your tight end. I like Roden's team. 131's not, as we saw based on the last 2 games we just talked about. 131 would have beaten a lot of teams this week. So it's just the luck of the draw who you're playing, and he went up against a guy who scored second highest in the league this week. But yeah, again, Roden got outscored in quarterbacks. I think every game this season so far he's been outscored in the quarterback category. 26 ain't bad, but you're going against guys who have Rodgers, Mahomes, Murray. You're probably going to lose that battle when you bring up Burrow against those guys. But yeah, overall, I like Roden's team. I like Roden's team this year more than I have in the past. It's a solid squad. He's got work to do, and this is not the year. I just the luck of the draw, who he's playing. It's not the year for him. So yeah, I think Barry's team struck gold this week with 173. Will not see that again. But yeah, Roden just placed a better team, top to bottom. Nothing you can do about that. Yeah, the new guys, Antonio Brown and Lockett, who got a 16 combined. He should have kept. Actually, he wouldn't have won this week, but if he kept Jonathan Taylor, would have had 23 from him. So let's say his next best guy on his bench, Chase Edmonds, 20. Wow. He still would have lost. He would have scored 150, but he would have lost. Still though. Yeah, I still don't like the trade that he did last week. I don't know why he did that, but what are you gonna do? Okay, so the last matchup, I'll let you take this one. Last matchup is Colonel Sanders. Another low-scoring game, 118 and 116. Colonel Sanders versus ZT's fantasy team. A heartbreaker, actually.
Yeah, this is really close. And, you take a look at, both of these matchups here. You have Dak, who just really anchored in the win for Adam here. I know chart going down obviously hurt him, but you have Dak and Najee Harris, who clearly carried him across the finish line in a very tight game. And, we had talked about Adam's team, potentially being, Tomato King, last week on the episode. And we talked about there's not having a lot aside from Dak and Najee Harris. And, those two carried him to a victory this week. And so he has to feel good about that. You take a look at all of his other players, he's starting freaking, just some no-name guys right now at his third flex. And he had Tim Patrick, who on most people's teams is like a second or third guy off their bench. Miles Sanders, who right now is not even looking like flex worthy. Obviously with Chark going down, that's another big hurt to this team. So he's lucky to squeak away with the win this week, but I don't really see in his future many more wins, getting pieced together. ZT, we'll see what he can do because he was kind of the last person that I said potentially has a shot to compete for the sixth seed. With Paul getting off to that 1-3 start, maybe that helps him. He's got a matchup against me, which was the only undefeated team left. Luckily for him, obviously we know Russell Wilson, got like an 11 last night. And so hopefully that opened the door for him to maybe take advantage of that. But, overall, I don't see him, finishing that strong this season. So, losing this game was rough for him because if he wins this and he's at 3-1, if he wins this game, no, he'd be at 2-2. Yeah, that's 2-2. And then, maybe wins this week, 3-2. Right now, he's in a tough spot facing my team, which is even with Russ going down, it's going to be a really even tough matchup, I think. If he loses that 1-4, he's done. So, yeah, I don't have too much to say about his team. He just really right now doesn't have that one boom factor. I know Adam does, but again, he doesn't have any complementary, guys to go around that. ZT's team and entire team is just a bunch of complementary, like flex type of players. I'd love to have, Mike Evans or Gibson on my flexes as my flex 1 or 2, but as my main 2 guys, I want someone that has, more upside, more higher ceiling each week. And it's tough for his team, but we'll see. He's been kind of quiet in terms of making moves, trades. So we'll see if, this week, maybe next week, something sparks and, either he starts to rebuild or make some big trade to try to make a push this year. So we'll see. If I'm him, I probably wouldn't be too content with just staying, with his current roster.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Adam's team. I don't know who the hell he's keeping next year. I really don't. AJ Brown's late, right? Because I know you wanted him.
Yeah,
I think that's
he's
it.
like a 20th.
Okay, that's it. There's nobody else in that team I want. I'm not keeping Najee Harris in the first round. I'm not keeping Miles Sanders. I'm not keeping Dak second or third, probably. I'm not doing that. But yeah, he's got a lot to work on. And I know he's 2-2 and he's lucky as hell, probably the luckiest owner in the league. That is the Tomato King this year. That's a bad team, dude. Like top to bottom, even if AJ Brown plays, he's got no Chark. He's going to have to start a Tim Patrick type, a Westbrook type. Not D.D. Westbrook. I'd rather have D.D. Westbrook than this guy. That's a bad team. There's a lot of work to be done over there. I don't know why ZT didn't start Deontay Johnson. The moment you saw Deontay Johnson was playing, you plug him in. That's overthinking. ZT tends to do that. Deontay Johnson and Jacoby Myers, I would have played ahead of Michael Pittman and Cortland Sutton. I'm not a Cortland Sutton guy, so maybe this is me. I would have played both those guys over the 2 guys he had in there. I don't know what he would have won. So stuff like that's so simple to me. I don't know. That's him overthinking it. That's ZT does it. If you know ZT, he overthinks everything. He always has to take the opposite of what the popular opinion is. Dude, fucking just do what you should have done there. Deontay Johnson and Jacoby Myers. But yeah, I don't think ZT's done. I think ZT has a chance of making the playoffs. I think he's a wild card. I think he's a 5-6 seed. I think he's a wild card team for sure. But yeah, it's tough. Tough hill to climb. I don't see Adam winning another game this year. I'm just gonna say that. I'm willing to bet like $50 right now that Adam does not win another game the rest of the season. I don't see it happening. I don't know how he's got 2-2 right now. He's ahead of a lot of teams that shouldn't be. Roden's team 0-4. Roden's team's a Pro Bowl team compared to this team. This is a really bad team. I'm actually I didn't realize Adam had 2 wins. I'm actually surprised. Oh boy. All right. Well, so that does it for the week 4 recap. Now we're going to the week, everyone's favorite week 5 preview and predictions. So you had 2 guys to go last night and you scored 24 and your projection of those 2 guys should have been 1-4 or should have been 40 between the 2 guys. You ended up getting 24 between the 2 guys. Your score actually was what they projected Russell Wilson to get alone. Russell Wilson got hurt. We don't know what's happening with his situation going forward this year. So that puts your outlook for the rest of the season. It's either you're going to put it all on Kirk Cousins or you're going to go make a move. I think you have the ammunition to go make a move for a top guy or a similar top guy. So yeah, this is a big week for ZT, especially not you. You're 4-0, so you can. It's cool to be the undefeated guy, but the cool thing about being 4-0 is you can drop a game, you're still 4-1, you're still above everybody else in the league. That's the beauty of it. Cooper Kupp at 13. If you look at his other games last week, he had a 9, so it's obviously better than last week. But if you look at the 3 games before that, this is 13. You don't want a 13 from him. This is what Cooper Kupp was getting you a couple of years ago. We're like, Cooper Kupp. He's when Cooper Kupp was Gordon Renfro style, or not Gordon Renfro, Hunter Renfro style. That's what he was. He was getting 16s, 13s. You were happy with that. Now when Cooper Kupp's the number 1 guy, 13's like, it's okay, I'll take it, but it's But then you go to the other side where ZT had a 9 from his kicker last night, which almost equaled what your kicker got, or what your quarterback got, which bodes well for CP or ZT. Sorry. So yeah, I think we're going Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson will get above an 11. Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp. I'm going to leave Mike Evans a slight 15, I think. So I think ahead of Cooper Kupp. Boobie Gibson against Zeke. Here's one thing. If Boobie Gibson does play, here's one thing I will say about Boobie Gibson. You look what Saquon did against New Orleans last week, catching the ball, and that's what Boobie Gibson's good for. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. I think Boobie Gibson could outscore Zeke this week. New Orleans has a good run D. New York's got a good run D. They stopped Kamara. Kamara didn't do shit last week. They didn't even throw it to him. So I could see Boobie Gibson beating Zeke this week. Unpopular opinion there. Waller against Kittle. I'll take Waller. Although Arizona's secondary kind of stinks. But CEH, Jamar Chase, I'll go CEH. Although I think it's going to be a passing heavy game, but I'm going to lean you slightly. Robinson, Deontay Johnson. That's a wash, man. James Conner, Jacoby Myers. I'm going to go Jacoby Myers. That's the only guy they really pepper the ball to. They don't really have an offense. They don't throw at Jacoby Myers. And I think the Conner getting 20s and 17s, I think that's going to end soon. I don't see that happening all season. That's my opinion, personal opinion. I do think because of Russell Wilson and Kupp's game last night, I think you lose this game. Slight loss. I don't think he has that. His matchups aren't that like sexy where it's like, he's going to dominate. I just think because your guys last night didn't perform as the way they should have, I think he wins slightly. I actually do like the projections here, 136, 123. Yeah, I'm going to go 130 to 120. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, 130, 120, 10-point game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was tough with, Russ going down with his dislocated finger. And I watched a couple videos last night and this morning on some doctors talking about it. They're not too concerned about his finger. They're saying that he's questionable for next week. And it's mainly going to be, his grip strength and a lot of pain that he's going to be playing through. But they're saying he's questionable for next week. The week after that, they said he should be 100%, back to normal. And so in terms of being a long-term, injury, I don't see that happening. And so I think I'm fine. And if I do have to roll out Kirk Cousins next week, so be it. I'm not so worried. Next week also starts the first week of bye week. So, my opponents can also have some buys. So it's really not that big of a deal. If you look at Kirk Cousins' game log, aside from last week, he's put up over 25 in his first 3 games. And last week was just a weird low scoring game for their offense anyways. And so next week also, Dalvin Cook's going to be back. And so I think their offense will be in full force. And so I'm not really too worried about, him going down. But in terms of this matchup, it definitely hurts me. And so essentially, I think Mike Evans is going to get pretty much a 13. I think that's going to wash out there. And so, I don't really pay attention to the projections. What I look at is, okay, I don't think Lamar is going to blow up. I think Lamar is going to get, mid to low 20s, maybe 25. And so it's like, okay, essentially at this point, I'm down by like 10 to 13 points. Can I make that up on the rest of my lineup? I think I can. I think that Zeke is going to outperform Gibson. I know that, like you were talking about, that they kind of shut down Kamara last week. That last week Saquon ran all over the New Orleans defense. But if you looked back the first 3 weeks of the season, New Orleans defense had played really well. They were actually one of the top run defenses in the league. I know the Giants have a good run team, but I really think that Dallas is going to come out there and dominate the Giants. And I think that, the keys to their success the last 2 weeks of Dallas has been a heavy run attack. I think he's going to have a good game. I think that he's going to get 5 more points than Gibson. I also think Waller is going to get 5 more points than Kittle. We saw Kittle last week a little bit with Trey Lance, and he really wasn't getting targeted in that second half. And so I do like Darren Waller's matchup there. And so right there, I think I'm ready covering 10 points. Let's say he's up by 3 right now. I really do like CEH over Jamar Chase, not by a lot, but maybe 2 or 3 points. So right there, I have it dead even in terms of being able to cover that 13-point gap. I have Robinson and Deontay Johnson as pretty much a wash. Both of those players have been playing really well when they've been healthy. And I know obviously Deontay is healthy now. And then Myers and Connors, I think it's close. I think that's pretty much a wash. And then I do think Blankenship will, if you look at his game log, I think he'll get a 9. So it'll come down to IDPs, really. And I think that's all a wash. So I have this extremely, extremely close. It's a coin flip. I'm always going to go with my team, especially being 4-0. And so I like myself in a win. I don't think that his offense is capable of putting up a lot of points. And because of my top 2 guys going down, I have this like a 124 to like 118 win for myself, or maybe even like somewhere around there. I don't think either team's going to break 130 in this matchup. Hopefully I grind out a win, but again, this is a complete coin flip because my, Russell Wilson not performing that well. So hopefully we can cover that gap and go 5-0. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why I'm saying he wins this game, just because of Russell Wilson scoring 11. And I think usually quarterback I'd like to see his stats on this, but when your quarterback is outscored by the opposing team's quarterback, I think I want to say that you kind of sets a tone for the rest of the team. If your quarterback wins that battle by a good margin, because I think Lamar's going to get more than 10 points more than 11. And I want to say there's got to be some correlation there. If your quarterback outscores the other team's quarterback by more than 10, you win. It has to be some correlation there. I've never looked at it, but I'm just thinking in my head when I look at my matchups, and that's usually when I lose. The other team's quarterback dominates my quarterback. The thing I did say, though, I say Saquon dominated New Orleans is not run defense, but catch the ball out of the backfield. That was what he dominated them. And that's something that New Orleans actually been bad with, was containing opposing teams' running backs out of the backfield. Boobie Gibson's a great receiver out of the backfield. So I think he could dominate in that respect there. That would be the way if he plays. He might not even play. All right. So we're split on that one. Yeah, and I would, like I said, I would have picked you if Russell Wilson had us 24. I wouldn't even think this game would be even close. But it's gonna be a low score. Wouldn't be surprised if your 124, 118 sounds pretty spot on. All right. So the next matchup is Barry's pickup lines, who had one person last night, versus Chasing Canton. What do you got?
Yeah. So, this matchup, obviously you rolled out with Alex Collins last night. I did in one of my other leagues as well. I was kind of a coin flip. Either way, here was my justification for him. I had him as my flex 3, and the league that I went out and started him in was basically, I knew he was going to get a lot of touch. I saw that last week. He had like 10 touches and like 2 receptions, with obviously him being like the lead back this game. I knew he was going to get a good amount of touches, which he did. I said, because of that his floor was probably around 7-8. And if that's what he got as my, my last flex, that's okay. I'll take that. It's better than, tanking and getting a 0. And I thought, he obviously had some upside there. And, obviously he's in your RB1, but with knowing your roster, you just kind of have a weird, orientation of your roster because of how top heavy you are. And obviously Debo playing really well, that your RB1 is almost takes the place of like a flex 3 type of role on your team. Which I'm sure that's not how you want it, but I think it's working for you right now. And obviously going against Tyler Lockett, who he just traded for, getting a 9, which pretty much evens that out right there. And so you kind of cross those guys out, and then going down the list, I definitely think Mahomes versus Buffalo, I think that's should be a good shootout. There should be a high scoring game there. And then obviously, I think he's going to outscore Burrow. Godwin versus Miami. Miami does have a decent defense, and, Tyreek Hill, if, Mahomes does have a good game, he'll obviously be on the receiving end there. I think Kelsey's going to dominate, Max Williams there. And then Kareem Hunt should beat Alex Collins by maybe 5 points or so. And then I think Debo Samuel should beat Lockett. I think his floor is probably a 9 there. So at a minimum, it's a wash. I do like Antonio Brown over Fournette. And then I think Jacobs and Edmonds is pretty much a wash. So I definitely have you winning this game, like you should. Being 3-1, having the most points in the league by far, playing the team that hasn't won a single game yet. You should definitely dominate this game. I just think the top heaviness of your team is just going to overpower him, especially at quarterback and tight end. I think those two positions is what's going to lead you to victory here. I'm going to go probably a 20-point win. I think you're going to put up, I'm going to go like 147 to 127.
Okay. That's pretty much about what they have projection, 148 to 124.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what we'll say. Last flex for me is up in the air right now. It's between Jacobs or T. Higgins. That was my thing last night because T. Higgins was trending on playing. I didn't know what was going to happen. But yeah, I went with Collins because I was scared about the whole Higgins and Jacobs situation. Plus, Jacobs is going against Chicago. Chicago still has a good run D. DeAndre Swift didn't do shit against that run D last week. And I don't know what the numbers are overall, but I'm scared about the whole Jacobs. Jacobs doesn't look right. I know he's healthy and he's practicing fully. He doesn't look right. You're a Raider fan. He doesn't look right. So that's my kind of hesitation with the whole Alex Collins thing. I think I'm going to go T. Higgins on my last flex spot over Jacobs. Just T. Higgins, I think it has a better chance of doing something more than what Jacobs will do. So that was my rationale going with the Collins with an 8 because I could easily see Jacobs getting less than an 8. But I'll tell you what, though, I was scared because for a moment there he had like a 5 going into that fourth quarter. If it wasn't for those like last 2 catches he would have had nothing. You were watching, you saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I win this game easy. Like I said, Roden doesn't have a solid squad. There's no like, oh man, this guy's a bum. No, he doesn't have any of those types in his lineup. So Max Williams, I would say maybe that, not a bum, but like that's like a flyer tight end you get there. But yeah, I think I win. There's really no debate about that one. All right, so next matchup is our guy who's taking a little break right now. He's on vacation, PTO. So he's playing against Cobb is playing against Barry, who had the second high score last week, was trending up right now, up. And the live projection right now is 142 to 143. They have Barry winning after Cobb's team last night really underperformed. Robert Woods played a game of his life. I had 12 or 150, 25 in fantasy. Tyler Higbee had an 8 and a touchdown. His defense IDP is 2 of 3. Are done now. He got a 1 from that. That's horrible. So now he's got Perryman. Perryman will probably get a 7 or an 8 to 9. It's about 3 average from his IDP. Yikes. And then Barry, on the other hand, like I said, he's got a solid squad. I don't like the Tyler Boyd play this week. I'm not gonna tell him what to do. I don't like the Tyler Boyd play, but overall, I think Barry wins, and I think Barry wins handily. I think this is the game that Cobb's gonna make a major move. To be quite honest with you, I don't know what the move is gonna be because the team's really stacked. But this is the game that's gonna put him on notice. And you gotta love whenever Barry beats like a team that's like a winning team in the league, because people kind of get annoyed by that. People don't like when Barry beats them. People forget this guy's a champion in our league. Okay, I don't care what kind of boneheaded moves he's made in the past. The guy has won in this league. A lot of people have not done that, and yeah, you got to give it to the guy. I think this team's gonna be all right. Yeah, so I think Barry wins, and I'm gonna go 147 to 120. I think Cobb's gonna get dominated. I think it's gonna be very like what you kind of predicted with the road and dash game. I think that's what's gonna be in this game. I think it's gonna be like a blowout. And Barry's back in the top 3. He wants a chance at the bye. I think Barry might get himself a chance at the bye. That's what I think. So, what do you think about that one?
I do have Barry winning this matchup, but I actually have this a lot closer than you do. I think, I don't think he necessarily got dominated on Thursday night. I do know that, he got 1 point combined between 2 IDPs, which sucks. But really, when you think about it, let's say they averaged, 6. So he got basically, minus, I would say minus 11 there, minus 10 on his IDPs. But, obviously his tight end pretty much covered the spread. But, his Robert Woods basically got, plus that 11 right there. So I think he pretty much washed on last night. I really don't think he necessarily lost that much. But when you go through these matchups here, I have Barry winning because of those IDPs. I think that Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers kind of be a wash. I don't think Devontae is going to put up a 25. So I actually think right there that he's up right now by, I would say, maybe 10 points or so. But I do think that Austin Eckler is going to dominate. I'm not going to say dominate, but I think he should outperform Cook because one, I actually think that after seeing, back-to-back him exiting these games, I think they're going to rest him this week, especially against Detroit. I do think they rest him. If he does play, I think that Alexander Madison's going to have a heavy, role that week. And so I do like Eckler a couple points. I think tight end's kind of a wash there. This is where I think it covers that gap. I think that DJ Moore is going to outperform Amari Cooper this week. And so right there, I have it, he covers that 25 points from Robert Woods. I have it a wash. I do like Kamara a little bit over Boyd, especially if T. Higgins is coming back. And then I kind of have the flex threes kind of a wash. Out of his core roster, I actually have Cobb up just by a little bit, maybe 5 points or so, 5-7 points. But I think because of he only had one between two of his IDPs, that Barry's team covers that 5 to 7 points there in his IDPs and squeaks out a win. I have this actually very close because of that. And so I'm going to go with Barry here these projections are pretty close. I'm going to go Barry 147 to 143 Barry post game.
Close. Yeah. I mean, I this game could be close, but I just think that Barry's going to put on a smack. That I think where Cobb's team is trending is a game where a giant letdown where people are just like, maybe he catches on. Maybe he catches on. He's won 2 in a row. He's a champ in this league. I don't think so. I think it's going the opposite way. I'm selling. If I had stock, I am selling Ryan Cobb's stock. That's just me. And I'm buying Barry stock. And it's gone up. It's soaring right now. So you should have gotten in 2 weeks ago.
Another side note about this game. Well, one, I do hope that Cobb's, sabbatical does something and maybe he can pull it out. He's getting his mind right for this matchup, and we'll see if that, the no media distractions, hopefully can help him out here a little bit. But I do have to say that this could be the battle of two future roommates. There's a lot of word and a lot of rumors being spread around here, but this could be a deciding factor. If Barry wins this game, Cobb potentially might not even let him live with him. There's potentially more headlines to this game than just the single matchup in week 5 leads it to be.
It's a rivalry. It hasn't been a rivalry, but I know in the past Cobb's been rubbed off the wrong way when Barry's like, dude, I lost. And he's only had it's like a Thursday night game. He only had one guy. Like Cobb, it rubs Cobb off the wrong way. But I'll tell you what, Cobb's now roommate Dean is moving to Atlanta next year. Barry's moving back to the area. And you know what? If this game is not an indicator of when they're going to become the roommates, this is like the start of the roommate rivalry. And I'm here for it. So yeah, good point there. All right. So next matchup is the 4th place team, which no one saw coming. No one thought this was going to be a thing, is Mr. MIA, who had a 37 last night, versus Colonel Sanders, who we all have agreed this is the worst team in the league. Was my Tomato King last week. But yeah, so what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, even with, obviously we know that CP, a little bit less than his projection after last night. It wasn't a loss, if as long as your quarterback hits over a 20, that's fine. It's when they get into the teens where you need to be concerned. Henderson hit his projections. So, in terms of Thursday night, I think he's fine. We've been talking about, Adam's team, potentially never getting a win again. I think that this is a game where CP comes out and definitely wins this game. I don't know how close. I'm going to go through these matchups and see how close it is. I do think that Dak is going to have another good game. I think that he'll probably be up by 10 right there. And then, AJ Brown coming off the injury, we'll see what he can do. I think, Cooks and the offense has been kind of a mess. So I think he does take a solid lead there. Najee Harris is probably going to, cross out Darrell Henderson. But once you get down to these flexes, I think that's where his team potentially could fall apart. Goddard Fant, it's kind of a wash. I think that Kenny Golladay, we just saw that Slayton was ruled out. Sterling Shepard was ruled out for this week. Now, Kenny Golladay is he's completely healed now from his hip injury. I think that Kenny Golladay is going to be the number 1 target there. I think he gets 10 receptions, and I think that he dominates Miles Sanders, who, Kenny Gainwell's really been the main guy over there, especially in the red zone. So I think that between that and then I like Hollywood Brown over Ruggs a lot there too. So I think for the most part that covers, the spread. And then I do like Sanders. I think that's actually going to be pretty even there between Watkins and Sanders. So I do have CP winning this game, in fact, and going to 4-1. But I have this actually very close because Stafford got that 21. I do think that Dak is going to have a good game. And I do think that AJ Brown will outscore Cooks. And so because of that, it's going to be closer than it leads itself to be. I really like kind of these projections. I'm feeling like a 127 to 123 win for CP.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and agree with you on that one. I think I love what CP did in getting Stafford. He got him late too. You know, and if I'm him, I'm keeping Stafford and I'm trying to get Robert Woods or Kupp next offseason. That's me. If I'm him, I want the stack, and that's a good stack to have. We talk about real stacks and fake stacks. That's a real stack, and I think it's proven. But hopefully everything's okay with his finger. He had a little bit of finger problem also, and that's something he's had in the past. Remember in Detroit, he had the glove on his throwing hand when he broke like a finger or something. The guy's a gamer, so he'll play through whatever it is. But yeah, Adams lucky that he has AJ Brown back this week, but those are the worst flexes in the league. And I'm saying that as a guy who started Alex Collins last night. The Miles Sanders, who's like a backup now. Henry Ruggs, who's a deep threat, 3 for 60 is his floor. So what, a 6 or 7? It's not bad. Sammy Watkins, who's like a 4 for 50. That's that's what he gets. That's like a 7 or 8 right there. I mean, there's no home run hitters in that team. Hollywood Brown, I love, but if I'm CT, I'm going out and trying to get Hollywood Brown from CP. If CP has not started him last 2 weeks, he's not started him. He's left him on his bench, so obviously he's not that high on him. Emmanuel Sanders, not bad, solid, but I do think CP's got a nice team, and it's a team that's gonna really put Adam thinking about next year. This week, Adam goes to 2-3. CP wins. CP goes to 4-1 for the first time in basement league history for CP. So congratulations, CP. CP wins 142 to Adams 112. Blowout. I think it's a blowout for a lot of teams this week, folks. Blowouts for a lot of teams this week. All right, so the next matchup, we got a game that, you know what? We talked about last week. This is wild. A lot of these games are wild card type games. And this one right here, wild card game, 6 for 7 seed, already a wild card game, to be quite honest. This one gets you in the playoffs. All right. And we got Hodge and we got Ruben. I like both these teams. Both these teams I'm very high on. Ruben finally is putting Cordell Patterson in there. I like what he's doing here. But Hodge has a good team. Hodge has a really good squad. So this is going to be a back and forth game. Metcalf getting a 23, looking like DK Metcalf that we all know and love. And it's funny. First 2 weeks, Lockett came out strong, and I was like, wait, there's going to be a couple weeks here where Lockett becomes back to what he was, and Metcalf takes off. So if you want Metcalf, you should try to get him in the last 3 weeks, and I'm sure Ruben probably would have done it. Now Ruben doesn't take any less for his guys, so no, he wouldn't have done anything. But the Josh Allen Diggs stack has not been the same, not been what everyone thought it was going to be. I think this week it will be. I think it's going to be a shootout in Kansas City. Josh Allen Diggs, I think that's going to put up some good points for him this week. Brady is going against Miami. They have a good pass. They have a good secondary. So that could be troublesome. I also think it's gonna be a bounce back too for last week, not really doing much offensively. But I'm gonna go Josh Allen over Tom Brady by more than 2 points. I don't know why it has that way. I like Diggs over Lamb. I think Lamb's still hit or miss. I'm just not. I get the Dallas offense is good, but I'm just not that big of a fan of CD. I like Cordell Patterson over Aaron Jones too. I think Cordell Patterson, Ridley's out, Russell Gage is out. They only have him. He's going to get utilized so much. Give me Cordell Patterson over Aaron Jones. Hawkinson and Andrews. Give me Hawkinson. Metcalf 23. Swift could get a 23, but we're going to stick with Metcalf here. I don't think Swift will get a 23. Mike Williams Jefferson. Give me Jefferson. Chenault McLaurin. Give me McLaurin. I think Ruben wins this game. Close, 168, 154. Ruben.
Yeah, I have this as my highest scoring game of the week. I actually have Hotch pulling this one off. Although I think I do want Ruben to win. These are two teams that right now I have circled in as making the playoffs in my rankings. And, obviously I think Hotch has the more talented roster right now. And so if he can fall to 2-3, and if I can squeak out a win personally and go 5-0, I really like, my chances of being able to pull away, down the stretch with, hopefully, either getting a bye week or being, in that top 3 going into the last 2 weeks of the season for a bye week. The more competition, the less, the more competition, I don't want that to be the case. And so I do want Ruben to win here. I think Hotch squeaks this out in a very high scoring game. I'm going like 163 to 158 in favor of Hotch. And here's basically how I score it. I have almost that top 4 being a complete wash. I don't think that Swift is going to get a 23. I think he'll probably get like, 15, 16, 17. So I like DK plus, 7 or so. I think Justin Jefferson is going to dominate Williams there. And so right there, I think it kind of closes the gap and it's pretty much even. And I like McLaurin over Shenault by about 5 points. And so that's where I have Hotch winning. That's where the 5 points is. But I think it's going to be a very high scoring matchup between the two of them.
Yeah, that it's good. I think that's the game of the week. Not only is that 6-7 games, the loser's not going to have a 6 spot anymore. Or whoever wins gets a 6 spot essentially. But yeah, it's a big game. And 2-2. This is the game where both teams are 2-2. One goes to 500, one goes to below 500. I think it's definitely the game of the week. For sure. Okay, so the next matchup is last matchup, right? Yeah, it's Stu and Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. Last matchup here. What do you got here, buddy? Stu and Paul.
Yeah, I mean, just without even looking at the rosters, just knowing, who Paul's acquired and, knowing, Stu, how he's performed recently and kind of the lack of, heavy talent he has, this should be a blow up by Paul. And so I'm going to go through some of these matchups here. I think that Herbert and Tannehill, I do think Herbert, it could be a higher scoring game with Cleveland. I'm going to give him like +5 there. I like Hopkins definitely over Odell. So I have him probably up like 10 points right now, maybe even more, maybe even 15. But I do think Saquon's going to dominate Mike Davis. I think that Cordell Patterson's kind of been the guy over there. Tight ends, kind of a wash. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a better game than Keenan Allen. So now it's pretty even. I like Chubb bouncing back over Thielen. Although, Thielen could have a good game, especially if Dalvin Cook's out and they kind of have more of a passing attack. And so you could even maybe argue that's a wash, although I do like Chubb there. And I think here's where Paul wins this game. I think Jonathan Taylor, blows out Cole Beasley. Although, Jonathan Taylor is going against Baltimore run D, which can be tough, but I don't see Cole Beasley outscoring him. So I definitely have Paul winning here. It's actually maybe a little bit tighter than I kind of had thought, previously before, going through matchup to matchup here, but I definitely have Paul squeaking out this victory. I'm going to go like 142 to 131 in favor of Paul.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a blowout. I think Stu's going to start selling some guys for next year after this game. Him and I already in talks about one of the guys who's on his team who's underperformed massively this year, underperformed big time. So him and I are in talks. We're meeting tonight. We're going to try to get a deal done to take this one guy off his hands because this guy's the guy hasn't really done much this year, and he's also kind of rotting away on this team. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to win a ring this year. So there's some talks right now in order to get this guy. But yeah, I think Paul's team is too good. Like the fact that he scored 170, I honestly was surprised I beat him last week. It took heroics for me to win. So like it was big. It was big. So I think Paul wins. By a lot. I think Stu's it's a fire sale on the guys he's not keeping next year. Paul wins. Dude, it's really kind of hard with the 100-point bonus that we have for 100-yard bonus we have. It's hard to not let Paul just get a 140 as a minimum every week. I'm going to go Paul 150, Stu 122. So the end. Okay. So finally, it's everyone's favorite segment. It's Tomato King. And this week we got some breaking news when it comes to Tomato King. So roll the intro video.
I don't like tomatoes and I don't think they like me. I wouldn't say I hate them and they're not my enemy. We do our best to coexist by staying far apart. I don't like tomatoes, they always make me far too unhappy.
So Tomato King time. So we've been doing the Tomato King for about three-ish years now. And I don't think this guy, since we've been doing Tomato King, has ever made the bottom 6 before. And I know it's overreaction. It might seem overreactionary to some, but there's a reason why the guy's not on the show today. And this might be it. So we're going to start off with number 7. Number 7 for Tomato King is Ryan Cobb. 3-1, but it's a bad 3-1. It's a 112 over 100 3-1. You know, it's not good. He should have lost 2 of the games. 2 of the games he's won, he should have lost. So he should be 1-3 right now. So yeah, we're gonna go Cobb there. I don't see him being in the bottom 6, but this is bottom 6 as of right now. I don't see him being there, but you know, it could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he falls into this category just based on the trends. And I think he's gonna lose again this week. So that's another one. It's not looking good for him right now. So he needs to make some major moves. Cobb, I hope while you're on your hiatus right now, I hope everything's all right. Next one, C Pizzle. 3-1. I'm not really buying this team compared to other teams. I like what he's got going on. He's doing well right now. I like what he's got going on, but I don't see this continuing. I know he's beaten me, and kudos to him. That's a win of the century right there. And yeah, the last time he beat me, CP, this is good facts right here. Last time he beat me was the year I won the championship. That was a week 3 loss. I didn't lose a game after that. So there's good stats when CP beats me, for myself at least, not for him. Next one, I think ZT. ZT's 1-3 right now. I think ZT is going to win this week, but his team just doesn't have it. Doesn't have what it takes. He's been relying too much on Lamar Jackson. He hasn't really tried to build around Lamar Jackson. He hasn't done it. See, I have Mahomes. Mahomes, you know, he's carrying me, right? But I've kind of built around him a little bit. What has ZT done? He hasn't really built around Lamar. He's wasting Lamar's prime. And I don't really like Lamar per se, but he's wasting Lamar's prime as a fantasy quarterback. Sad, really. The next one on my list is Roden. Roden, yeah, he's number 10 on my list. I like his team. I think his team is better than ZT and CP's team, but he just hasn't. I mean, he's had bad luck. He's played against really good teams every week, and he doesn't have the quarterback situation. That's also another thing. If he can make a move for a quarterback 2 weeks ago, I think we wouldn't be talking about him as Tomato King right now. But Roden, I think he's already packaging up, waiting for next year. He's already made a move to position himself right for 2022. So good for him. All right, next one, Stu Adams. He was reigning Tomato King. He's got a big shot. He could easily get that again. He could get crowned Tomato King again, but there's one team that's really bad, and that's Adam Milowich, who's 2-2 right now. I don't think he's going to win another game this season. He is the worst flexes in the league, maybe ever. I had never seen that bad at flexes before. Miles Sanders was a solid guy going into this year. He was kind of bad last year. A lot of people said, oh, no, you know, he tore it up at the end of the season. He might be great this year. Kenneth Gainwell's the guy over there. And I think everyone knows it at this point. But yeah, Adam's team, rough shape. Outside Dak and AJ Brown, he has nothing. He has no assets going beyond that. His flexes are guys who I wouldn't start in a bye week. Maybe on a bye week, but I wouldn't start him on a bye week. So yeah, that's where I have Adam 2 weeks in a row of Tomato King, and I don't see him winning another game this year. What do you think about that list?
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be very accurate. I'll go through mine really quickly. And again, a lot of my rankings have to do with strictly talent and not so much, we're so early in the season. I'm not paying attention too much to wins and losses. And so for me, I think that, overall, I think Paul will end up in the top 6. It seems just too good not to do that. Falling to 1-4 actually can make it, pretty tough for him if he doesn't win this week. But just off talent, I have in my top 6. So for me, 7, I'm going with Ruben at 7 right now. At 8, I have CP, Mr. MIA. If he can squeak out a win right now, going 4-1, and have CMC coming back next week, I think he'll definitely stay kind of in that 6, 7, 8 range. At least as long as Paul keeps losing, he'll definitely be up there. But I think long term, that's probably where he'll settle down. Is probably around 8. For me right now at 9, I have ZT's fantasy team. I think ZT, he could squeak out a win this week and go to 2-3 against me. Although I would love for him to lose and go 1-4, but I think kind of that bottom's just kind of a cluster. And I think that's kind of where it gets, that 9 seed for me is where it gets cut off, where I don't think those teams are going to make the playoffs. I think when you look at the top 8, if you're looking at the thing right now and you kind of switch Paul and, right now Paul's at 9 and Adam's at 8. If you kind of switch those two, I think those top 8 are the ones that are going to compete for the playoffs this year. I think that bottom 9 is out of it. So for me, right now, I do have ZT at that 9 spot, and I don't think he's going to end up making the playoffs. Unfortunately, there's just too many good teams right now, especially if he loses this week and goes 1-4. Going down the list at 10, I have Stu right now. He does have the stack. Julio will hopefully be back next week, and I think he'll win a couple games down the stretch because of that stack. I just don't think he really has enough talent to kind of move up really in the rankings much. And then at 11, right now, I have Chasen Canton. I have David Roden. I do think he definitely loses to you this week and goes 0-5. And so, I think he'll be kind of the tomato king for the next couple of weeks for sure until he can win a couple games. Honestly, I'm not a fan of the trades he's made. I'm really not. I think he's just doing 2-for-1s in a negative sense. Like he's just getting 2 extra flex guys. When you're at the bottom, you should be doing the opposite. You should be trying to get 1 or 2 guys that can go off and win you games. And, I think he waved the white flag a long time ago. Sad to see it. And so I definitely have him at 11 right now. But just like you said, Adam Milowich, he's got those top 3. Maybe A.J. Brown could bounce back. But 3 players, that's not a stack, is not going to win you a lot of games going forward, especially when you have basically dog shit as flexes. I really don't see him. I mean, if those top 3 go off again, he has a chance to win 1 to – I'd say his max, his ceiling is 3 more wins the rest of the season. That's his absolute max. And so right there, putting him, there's 14 games. So would he be at 5-9 at the absolute best? And so that's definitely towards the bottom when you look back to last week. I think realistically, he probably wins 2, goes 4-10 this season. And that's probably enough to put him at the bottom at Tomato King for me, especially with the lack of talent that he has.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most obvious tomato kings we've had in a really long time because Stu's team wasn't that bad. He didn't have that bad of flexes so early on in the season, at least. But
yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, Stu actually had a good roster. His issue was injuries. And I think when you look at Adam's team, I know that Chanel or, that his top guy, his wide receiver 1 that was in place just went down. But, for me, he wasn't struck by injuries. He just had a bad team to start with. So I think you're right.
It was bad drafting. It was drafting, and I was looking at it because I forgot that I got Deebo Samuel in the 6th round. You know how many guys were taken ahead of Deebo Samuel? Not saying that I knew Deebo Samuel was going to blow up, but I like Deebo Samuel more than Shark. I like Deebo Samuel more than Robbie Anderson. What were people thinking? I don't know, man. I really don't know what went through a lot of people's heads during this draft, but by far the worst team. I love Adam. I know his first year in the league, he had a Nixon administration was a pretty solid administration. This administration's bad. I think like the Nixon administration, I think this guy's going to be pulled out of office because that's how bad his team is. He needs to shake it up. I think next year he's going to bounce back and hopefully he can make a run to wild card spot next year. But fellas, week 4 is a night. It was a good week. Week 5 is going to be even better. Stick around next week. Maybe Cobb. Maybe we'll see our guy come back, our co-host. Maybe he'll comes back and walk it through. And I can't wait to see his reaction to the Tomato King standings because I think I think he knows it. I think he really does know that his team is not doing well right now. So, and plus he might come off a loss. So we'll see you guys next week. I hope everyone wish everyone good luck and go get them this weekend, folks.